Wreckfest is out, but it's not the only thing that was important this week. This video is dedicated to the memory of Eddie Jordan. Few names are as well known and maybe as contentious as his, but he always stayed true to himself and lived a full life. Greetings Rummy, you're watching Rum, the channel sharing the joy of sim racing and a regular news roundup, our weekly sim racing news. Thanks to all those who come here often, especially those who subscribe, and even more our patrons. My name is Curt and I will be your host for this video. Once again, a week that starts slow and boom, news all round. Most are short-ish, but of course we tell you all about Wreckfest 2 and you can check out our opinion in our video from last Friday. And we'll tell you what Gaffa tape has to do with sim racing, so stick around, pun intended. Let's get to it. Straight 4, the studio behind Project Motorsport, has given us some glimpses into their physics, showing what their physics engine, Hadron, is able to do in a blog post. First important information is that the physics engine runs at 720 Hz, that's 720 updates of the physics information every second, while the drivetrain, by their own words, runs at 10 times that speed, meaning 7,200 updates per second. What the team also tells us is that they are using the code to simulate fluid dynamics, which means they are simulating the flow of fuel within the car and then what happens to the gas, including the exhaust, after it leaves the car. Also, they will simulate what happens to the car's body and how it influences the driving, much like Automobilista 2 did in the 1.5 release. And the influence all aero pieces have on each other will also be a part of the physics. Another impressive feat, if they manage to make it work in the final product, we all know what happened to Project Cars 2, is that the physics of what happens between the tire and the track will run at 10,000 Hz. While they have reduced the model to 2 dimensions to be able to have halfway congruent results, this sounds particularly, well, impressive. No sooner had they dropped their Le Maestros DLC that EA announced a new DLC for EA Sports WRC called Hard Chargers with 6 new cars. 2 Clios, a Ford Focus from '99, a Corsa from 2022 and a Hyundai from 2021, but most especially a Ford Escort RS 1600 Mk1 from 1973, which has me salivating already. Also, it will offer 6 new stages in Sweden, 6 in Greece and 16 moments. 18 liveries complete the offering, which for now has no price or release date announced. Le Mans Ultimate did a couple of quick patches to the release last week, fixing some game crashes, some issues with the chat box and a couple more issues with the MFD. There were also a couple of issues with the race weekends, like not being able to leave the instant replay or the configurations for a championship disappearing into the digital nirvana, plus further minor issues. Also, a mismatch between chosen tires and applied tires has been corrected, as well as many corrections to tracks, including removal of DRS zones. And why does a WEC simulator even have those? Lastly, there were many changes in maximum power output as well as weight penalties in all car series. iRacing already published a patch to their freshly baked Season 2 2025 update, ironically fixing the updater software, getting the AI to drive the new ARCA cars and improving lighting effects in a ton of ways, also fixing an issue that made debris on the track invisible. The code for debris and dirt seems to have been an issue in the update, as a big part of the patch has to do with correcting many graphic issues having to do with exactly that. Added to those, many minor graphic issues have been corrected in cars and tracks, and many standard setups have been updated. Fanatec have released a beta version of what is going to be their new software for handling their products, which will handle everything Fanalab and the control panel did until now, including installing the latest drivers. Therefore, calibrating wheelbases and pedals as well as updating the firmware will happen here. One thing we are seeing more and more in these kind of software products is that they detect the sim and the car automatically and choose the correct setup by themselves, which is something the new software will do. If you follow the link in our description, you'll as always get all the details, and in there you will find a link to the beta version. As always with betas, be careful, it could do strange things to your computer. It's a beta after all. If you like what you see, how about supporting us? A like and a comment to tell the almighty algorithm we are worth watching are a good start. Subscribing is even better, and what really helps us grow is you becoming a patron, as YouTube's income is tiny for a sim racing channels. Patrons get access to exclusive content and are involved in our decision. Help us grow with your support. Help us keep spreading the joy of sim racing. Become a patron today. Wreckfest 2 has arrived on Steam, as you may have seen thanks to our review, link up there. We're told the console versions of the game will come once it's left early access. I guess the quality gates the console makers have set up don't allow for early access drops. I like the developers have chosen Gaffa tape, that very strong version of duct tape anybody doing anything technical has used at some point as a reference. Out of the gate, Wreckfest 2 delivers single-player racing against up to 24 players, which of course are AI in racing and derby mode. It also offers the same for multiplayer, and as it was for Wreckfest 1, you can fill the empty seats with bots until another player comes in. Well, in theory, as they had to release a quick hotfix to solve an issue with that. It brings 2 maps, each with 2 configurations. Scrapyard, which we already saw in the first trailer, Speedway, which true to its name is an oval, and a Derby Arena, which is a remake of the Wreckfest 1 sandpit. It also brings a single-player map called Testing Grounds, which is quite similar to what Wreckfest 1 already had. No Wreckfest without cars to wreck, and you'll find 4 cars in this first drop. 2 American muscle cars, 1 compact EU banger car and 1 US banger car. Of course, you will be able to customize your cars however you want, and in future versions even exchange those setups with other players. Also, later during early access will come a career mode, special challenges and mod support, which I hope will be more than it was on Wreckfest 1, where you basically just shared liveries. Among other features, it now also brings a replay mode, including a photo mode to capture your craziest moments, and if Wreckfest 2 is anything like Wreckfest 1, there'll be plenty of them in each session. Added to the hotfix we talked at the beginning, they also delivered a second, more extensive hotfix, fixing some software crashes and with what hopefully will be a fix to pedals not being recognized by the game. And they have improved the performance of the Savolax sandpit reverse layout, which is something you can expect to happen often as Bugbear fine-tuned their game engine.